The night Sheikh Hamdan's wife and girlfriend were in the same room. There are moments that exist at the exact intersection of the private world and the official one. Moments where the careful management that keeps those two worlds separate fails in a way that cannot be corrected in real time, where the two realities that have been running parallel without touching suddenly occupy the same physical space. And everyone in the room has to find a way to exist inside the specific impossibility of that. This was one of those moments. The night Sheikh Hamdan's wife and his girlfriend were in the same room is not a story that exists in any official record. It is not referenced in any palace statement or royal announcement or carefully worded communication from the team that manages the public version of his life. It exists only in the memories of the small number of people who were present, and in the specific way that moments of that magnitude exist permanently, heavily, without the possibility of being processed into something smaller than what they actually were. The gathering was not supposed to be what it became. That is the first detail. Events at the level of the Al Maktoum family are planned with an enormous care. The guest lists are considered, the arrangements are managed. The specific configuration of who will be in what room at what time is not left to chance in the way that ordinary social events are left to chance. The people who manage these things are professional and experienced and have spent careers developing the specific skill of ensuring that the right people are in the right rooms and the wrong people are nowhere near the wrong rooms. On this night, that management failed. Not because anyone was negligent, because the information that would have allowed the management to prevent what happened was not, at the relevant decision making level, fully understood. Someone did not know what someone else knew. The gap in the knowing was exactly the size of the gap needed for the night to become what it became. She arrived through a channel that had always been considered private enough to be safe, an access point that the management of the official event had not accounted for in its planning, because the access point was not part of the official event. She was not on the guest list. She had not been invited in any capacity that the official planners had visibility into. She arrived the way she had always arrived, at the places where Hamdan was, through the private channel, the one that existed specifically to allow the private world to reach the official one without being visible to the people managing the official story. That channel had worked for years. It worked until the night it did not. Sheikha Shaika was present as the official wife. She was there in the capacity she occupied in the official story, as the crown princess, as Hamdan's acknowledged partner, as the woman whose presence at events like this was not a choice but a structural requirement of the role she had been placed in. She was performing that role with the specific grace that had always characterized her public presence, dignified, composed, every inch the woman the official story required her to be. And then something changed in the quality of the room. A shift that is difficult to describe to anyone who was not there, but that the people who were there have described consistently as immediately perceptible. A change in the specific energy of a space when something enters it that was not expected and that the space was not configured to contain. The moment of mutual awareness, the specific moment when both women understood simultaneously that they were in the same room, has been described by the people present as completely silent. Not the silence of a room that has gone quiet, a silence that existed beneath the noise of the gathering, personal and interior. The specific silence of two people who have just understood something that changes the texture of every moment they have previously existed in without knowing what they were both part of. Shika had felt the other woman's existence for a long time without having her confirmed in this specific physical present in the same room way. The confirmation arrived not with any word or gesture, but with simple presence. The fact of her in the room, real. The girlfriend had known about the wife in the comprehensive way that she had always known about the official story. Completely, clearly, without the protection of ignorance. But knowing about someone and occupying the same physical space as them are two different experiences. The abstraction of the official wife became, in that moment, a person, a real woman, standing in the same room, connected to Hamdan in a way that had official recognition and public acknowledgement, and all the things that the 5 years and the private life and the child had not produced. The knowing settled into something different when it was no longer about information, but about physical reality. Hamdan became aware. The specific quality of his awareness in that moment, the precise instant when he understood that the two worlds had entered the same room, was described by one person present as the only time they had ever seen his composure genuinely falter without recovering immediately. Not a breakdown, nothing visible to anyone who was not already watching him closely, but a fraction of a second, a single, unmistakable fraction, where the effort of maintaining the separation between the two realities was suddenly and completely insufficient for the reality he was standing in, both of them, in the same room, the official world and the private one, simultaneously, without the buffer that the management of his life had always provided between them. What happened next was managed. It always gets managed. The people whose job it is to manage these situations moved with the speed that comes from professional experience and from the specific urgency of a situation that is threatening to become something that cannot be managed after the fact. She was moved quietly with the specific efficiency that palace management applies to size situations that need to be resolved before they have time to fully materialize. The room continued. The event continued. The official version of the evening resumed its progress toward the conclusion it had been scheduled to reach. But the moment had happened. Both women had been in the same room. Both had felt the specific weight of that shared space, the specific weight of two people who are connected to the same man in ways that are completely incompatible with each other, being in the same physical reality at the same time. Both had looked, directly or indirectly, at the other. Both had understood, in the looking, something about the full shape of a situation they had each been living inside from different angles, without ever having the other angle made this visible and this real. The night ended. The management did its work. The official story absorbed the moment and presented the same smooth surface it always presented to the world. And Hamdan went back to the life that required him to inhabit both realities without letting them touch, knowing that on this night they had touched, that the two women who represented the two halves of his divided life had occupied the same room at the same time, and that the moment, however briefly it lasted, however completely it was managed after the fact, was the kind of moment that does not leave. That settles into the permanent record of a life, even when that record is kept entirely in private. It happened. Both women were there, and nothing about the night or about the life that continued after it was ever quite the same. Subscribe to this channel and hit the bell. Every week I bring you the real story of Sheikh Hamdan. the nights that were never supposed to happen, the rooms where the two worlds finally touched, and the truth that survives every attempt to manage it back into silence.